Hello, this is First Fire and on Assault Move. Welcome back to the 61st episode in the War in the East series. Let's get a situation report. It is now the 27th of April. When we last left off, it was the third week of February. We've advanced 2 months in the game. What we've done in that span of time is mostly strategic moves, extricating our forces out of Army Group North's area of operations in preparation for our 1944 spring-summer offensive. What also has happened during that span of time is the changing weather. It was blizzard snow conditions in February in the last episode, and through the past 8 turns, it was mostly still snow and blizzard conditions. And then end of March, we started to have mud conditions in certain regions along the front, and we can check that out. We started to get mud in the South Soviet zone, and then mud occurred a turn or two after in Central Soviet zone, and then the North Soviet zone, and then the turn after that, it was mud throughout. But the mud didn't last as long as we thought. It turned to snow conditions again, and that's where we're at currently. Take a peek. As you can see, mud down here is remaining, but mostly in the where we're going to be conducting operations, it's snow. So we've done some attacks this last turn. So we'll get a situation report here of where we're lying right now. We talked about Leningrad being one of our objectives for 1944, and we continued to attack during the snow months here and there, not wholesale attacks across the front of Army Group North, but here and there where we could really apply overwhelming combat power against the Soviets. And during the course of those months, since February, we've reached this point, and this is what the front is looking like right now. We reached the coast in a couple of places along the front here, and we've separated the bulk of the Soviet Army in Army Group North's area of operations from Leningrad. You can see here, though, that the forces are in and around Leningrad, what the Soviets have left, are very well emplaced. Their supply is discouragingly good right now. We only have a little orange there because we did attack across the river here just to test some strength and get the measure of the Soviet defenses. And here is the soft. We have this soft factor right now, just showing the supply status of the forces on the front. We'll continue to attack the Soviets across this body of water, not recklessly, but at least to start to reduce their fort levels, because we have to take Leningrad. And just looking at the terrain and how the defenses are positioned, there is no easy way to get at the Soviets, which the Germans found out historically. However, we're in a really good position, and we've been able to free up large number of infantry corps from this area of operations, and they've been sent elsewhere. And there's more than enough combat power right now to at least conduct attacks here. And as you can see, our divisions are stacked 3 high, and there's just no room for any other forces. And we don't really want to commit too many more forces in Army Group North's area of operations because we're just going to straighten the line up to about this point here, just to make it a little cleaner. We already have that significant bend. I don't expect this to change throughout the rest of the war. It may just remain like this. I had thought possibly of encircling these Soviet formations here, but it's just a smattering of Soviet forces, and it wouldn't really contribute to any real gains for the rest of the war. So it's just going to be like this. These formations are going to see 1944 pass into 1945 with really no change on the front. So further attacks into Leningrad in Army Group North's area of operations and in and around this area of the front as well will leave a Panzer Corps at the minimum, maybe 2, to support the attacks here as we move out of Army Group North's area of operations into the boundary of Army Group Center and then down into Army Group Center's area of operations, we just want to keep our front contiguous, not leave any gaps open. And I'll stress that again because there were some shenanigans the Soviets pulled a couple of turns ago. Uh, just annoyances. Anyway, so we'll move down here. There'll be no change here. Some of our forces have been withdrawn, and I looked. I don't know how long it happened because I wasn't really paying attention to the withdrawal schedule. And a hex of Moscow was left unoccupied. It was ungarrisoned, so we had to put some forces there. We want to eliminate the resources that the partisans may have and keep these big cities well garrisoned. Here, Soviet Infantry Corps decided to peek its way through during some of the past couple of turns, and then mud happened, and we just don't have the forces to attack it, and it's just gonna sit there for a little while until we clean that up. Over the next 3 or 4 turns, I fully anticipate 3 to 4 more turns of mud, so we got to clean our front up. During the mud period, just moves just to fill these gaps. So where the shenanigans happen, let's get to that. Right here. We see a concentration of Soviets. Yes, they have built up, and just look, they are mostly mechanized and armored corps, guards even. You can see where there are attacks. Yeah, this far west, the Soviets had a number of formations. Let's take a look at that. Was a tank corps. We look here, and it was another tank corps. Okay, this is the big one. There were 3 tank corps back this far west. And we finally adjusted and got enough forces around, and we cut them off, and then we waited a turn or two to get them out of supply, and then we attacked, and look at that. They lost almost 500 tanks for really nothing. Well, they caused the Germans to have to shuffle their lines and just be annoyed and then take care of them. And now this was happening as we were starting to pull forces from Army Group North and railing them all the way down here. And it's taking some time, longer than I expected. It's been 8 turns, and I'm still not fully deployed. We haven't arrayed our forces sufficiently and cleanly as much as I had liked to have happened by this point. So this still has to be cleaned up, but we do have panzer divisions arriving piecemeal. The rail capacity just cannot support railing down an entire panzer corps in one turn. It's just in 7 days, 1 week's time frame, just can't do it. So mostly I did infantry corps so I can get them in bulk, get them down into this area where we can see right here. There's at least 3 fresh infantry corps that have arrived in this area. We're going to break out and then head down to Mykop and also Stalingrad. And then we also shuffled down some infantry corps in this area. So I think I'm mostly done extracting our infantry corps from Army Group Center and Army Group North and shuffling them down here. Panzer Corps wise, no, we are not nearly complete in that endeavor. And while those months of, well, it won't be months, it'll be weeks of mud happen, we'll get the rest of our Panzer Corps down. And we'll take a look where they still are. Alright, so we have 3 Panzer Corps here and 1 here. So we still have 4 Panzer Corps. Well, actually 5. Yeah. We still have 5 Panzer Corps all in this this area of operations, and we have to get them south. And with probably 2 Panzer Corps per week at most, we can get down south. So it's going to be at least another month and a half before we can get all our the amount of Panzer Corps that I want in the area of operations we're going to conduct offensive operations. So what that all means, we'll take a larger look at the front. The plan was to extract Infantry Corps and Panzer Corps from Army Group North's area of operations, which we have done over the period of 8 weeks. Mostly complete, getting the infantry down into these assembly areas for future operations, future offensive operations, and the Panzer Corps still have to come down. Meanwhile, we're getting reinforcements. We did have some withdrawals, like an infantry division here and there. We actually lost a full SS Panzer division, and we see that the 11th Panzer Division is going to be leaving. I looked at the withdrawal chart, and we're going to lose the 11th Panzer Division. It's terrible. You know, so we're losing some forces, but we're also gaining forces. If you look here, oh, we're still on battles. If you take a look there, we're getting the 9th SS, and we have an infantry division, and have already railed a few infantry divisions. The reinforcements that arrived, we're railing them east as we can. Got to prioritize rail movements. So yeah, we have some reinforcements coming in. Probably it's a wash. It equals out. What's getting withdrawn is getting replaced with reinforcements. So overall, in the grand scheme, I don't think our combat power is going to change, either sway to the positive or the negative. Losses wise, there's not much change from when we looked last. Still in the 4 million range. And the Soviets have started to recoup some of their losses. We're about equal. They were down under 4 million, 3,600,000, around there at one point. So they're recouping their losses, and largely that's because we haven't been conducting any offensive operations to any scope or scale. So they're going to recoup some losses here, and they'll get some more reinforcements, and they're recovering as well as we are during this lull in the war in the east, and they'll covering their tank forces as well, even though they lost. Once the dust settles here, prior to kickoff with the spring and summer offensive, and we take out those tank corps and mechanized corps that we looked at that are kind of have concentrated, this is going to jump. This will be reduced, but the factories are still churning out tanks, and we saw that they still have a decent amount of armor formations here. Mechanized tank, another tank, all through here, all building up. I guess they were looking for a offensive of their own, but we are going to preempt that with our own offensive. That about concludes our situation report. We'll continue to extract our Panzer Corps from Army Group North and array them in these assembly areas. I'm anticipating this will be the area on the front where we will break out east towards Saratov, and then south in this vicinity here, possibly breaking out east and north. And the idea behind that is to start off the spring summer offensive with a nice encirclement of all of these Soviet armored formations. That would be a nice start for the 1944 offensive. We are at the tail end of this turn. There's not much more to do, so we will advance through the mud weeks and be back with the opening salvos of the spring-summer offensive. I hope you enjoyed this update. This is First Fire Non-Assault Move Out.